see if we have begun. Stream started. Just reload here and see what's going on. Yeah, it looks like we're good. Alrighty, so here we are once again back in the world of PlayStation 2. Recently what I've done was I pulled out an old PlayStation 2 from the cupboard. It's had a hard drive connector in the back, but there was no hard drive inside the console, and I found out that it was one of the generic or what they call Ethernet adapters, but I mean the generic Ethernet adapters don't actually have the Ethernet connection functional in them. They have a serial ATA connector, and that's pretty much all they have. So they allow you to connect a hard drive to the PlayStation 2, but no Ethernet connection, no network connection that you can use to dump games. So you have to do everything manually, which means you have to open up the console every time, take the hard drive out, and pop it into another machine so that you can dump your games. To this end, I went and took a whole bunch of spare parts out of the garage, amended them and amalgamated them into a system that had a Pentium 4 chip, and my computer knowledge is very little. Most of it I have from friends who've shown me how to build PCs, but it's like Lego, right? How hard could it be? So I just plugged all the bits and bobs that I had together, and saw that there was an XP serial key on the actual case. The case was actually a gift from my ex-boss, who is now in New Zealand working. Thanks, ex-boss. So that all still works. I mean, the stuff was from 1994, but everything functions well if you run Windows XP on it. So that's what I put on, and to my great surprise, I found out that there is quite a large Windows XP following. So there are a bunch of very dedicated folks that do updates and the like for Windows XP. So I used that system to install all the stuff I needed for the PlayStation 2, such as free MC boot, in this case something called free HD boot, which means I don't even need to use a memory card. The PlayStation 2 boots straight from the hard drive, which is quite neat. You don't need a memory card at all. You can even put the saves for the game on the hard drive themselves, which I'll go through in a minute. A new version of Open PS2 loader, which you put on the PlayStation 2's hard drive as well. I made it boot straight to the games loader, because I really felt that there was no need for it to go to the browser window. I mean, that was just confusing for people using the system anyway. If I had it in a station setup, I mean, they would just toggle up and down the menu and not know where to go. So I moved it boot straight to HD loader, which means they get access to the game straight away. So that's all done, and then I found out how they added art and such forth to the system. Now, having a Windows XP machine didn't allow me to connect directly to one of the art servers for this OPL manager, Open PlayStation Loader Manager. So I just put them in manually, which is probably not a bad thing, because a lot of the artwork I didn't really like anyway. So I changed quite a bit of it, and then I just put a bunch of games that I own on, the stuff that I dumped before, with one or two exceptions. I think Kokota and Ken, I don't have a physical copy of. Stuff like that I don't have physical copies of because they weren't available, even from the US branch where I ordered most of my games from. So yeah, there's a couple of things we're gonna look at from the game's perspective, and what it looks like now. But that's basically it. Nothing strange. Just a bit of fun that I had with PlayStation 2 and some old tech. It was really interesting to build an XP machine from like bits and bobs. I mean, finding out what graphics card I had in there. It was like a XFS 600 GT or something like that, for which I had to go searching for drivers, which eventually allowed me to connect it via DVI, which was the only connection I still had available at the back of the screen. All the other connections been using, so that was great. So yeah, I mean the motherboard for the PC is broken. The Ethernet connector of the motherboard is broken, rather, not the motherboard itself. But everything else still functions, and I even had an old DVD-ROM, so I could dump more games onto the also old solid state 240 gig drive that I eventually used to install Windows XP. So that is all on there, and for some really old hardware, it's actually kind of amazing that that stuff all still works. It works well. I was quite surprised how easy it was to just navigate and do things at relative speed, and you sort of wonder why did everything work so well then, and it was just like old tech with 500 megs of RAM for a graphics card, or 500 megs of RAM for the system, and 256 megs of RAM for the graphics card. It's crazy to think that stuff like that can be done. However, here we are. So, I mean, obviously, I'm right at the page now where all the games are, but the nice thing is that there's box art for most of these things. I think one of them doesn't have box art on. It's probably the Street Fighter game. Yes, Street Fighter Anniversary Collection doesn't have artwork for the the disc. And then I also once again added my favorite Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, and that was something interesting too, because I found out that the Shaolin Monks game has two startup numbers. So that SLUS 210.87 that you see is one of the startup numbers for when you try and boot the game. But when you boot this game, or rather when you install this game using something like Winamp, it accidentally uses the other one. So I tried to boot it for a bunch of times, and it never actually functioned until I started using HDL dump to put the games on, and I had much more success with that. A couple of interesting things I learnt was that Tekken 5, for instance, does have a widescreen patch, but the patch doesn't work on the hard drive. You actually need to run the disk image, and you can have the game widescreen patched, which is pretty cool, to be honest. Obviously, Last Blade Collection I also don't have a copy of, so that was one of the games that was also downloaded off the internet. SVC Chaos, another one. But most of these I have games of, actual physical copies. And of course all my Mortal Kombats, which is actually interesting because this was one of the games where you could again use a widescreen patch to make the game run in widescreen, which is very interesting. NeoWave 480p, it was just an old hack that I did to make the game run in 480 progressive. 98 Ultimate Match doesn't need 480 progressive because if you hold triangle and X when you boot the game, it gives you the option to do that. But most of the games will run in interlaced mode. People hate me for this Capcom vs SNK 2 hack because I took out two of the songs which I dislike, one of which is Tuna and Bacon. So I took out Tuna and Bacon. It's no longer in there. Maximo is a CD game. I actually haven't played that in a while. But this is what we can do. So like under options, for instance, you can go to game settings, cheat settings, and configure VMC. So what's nice here is you can actually set yourself up a memory card and then save that. And the game will then save your save games onto the hard drive, which is neat. So you don't actually need a memory card at all. You just need a singular hard drive, and you can dump most of your stuff on there. So that's neat. There are also themes available for this new version of HD Loader, but I didn't enjoy the themes as much. I found that the way they write the text was too jarring, so I chose just the regular theme. Let's boot Deception, because I didn't actually check if that works. So let's see what Deception looks like with a HD mod on, or rather a widescreen mod. The game does cycle through colors and things, and may decide not to return to actual game footage until I reset the capture device, which I think what happens now. So let me do that quickly. Hopefully that brings it back. There we go. Should be there in a sec. Or not. Let's see if I can disable, re-able. Properties, deactivate, and then activate. There we go. Alright, so we're back. Oh yeah, so I didn't actually make a virtual memory card for this game yet, but I mean I will a bit later. And now I can't see it on my own screen, so I'm gonna unplug, replug. Hopefully that's refreshed. It doesn't look that way. Let's try again. Ray. The disappearing of my main screen is rather annoying. Let's just go okay and see what happens. That's rather frustrating. Wonder why it chooses to do that. It could just be the Samsung monitor that doesn't like playing the game. Yeah, I got no idea. It's fine, I'll just run it through here. Sound.
It was not by chance that this struggle came to be. The blame falls squarely upon my shoulders for giving evil the chance it needed, and therefore fulfilling an ancient...
Let me try something quickly.
Round one, fight!
Game function with the switch copy. Is in fact this game actually also has some great things. What has happened? What has happened? There we go. So progressive doesn't work for some reason. There we go. And then you can also press shoulder button, start and select, and you should be able to exit back to open PlayStation Loader. Yeah. Maybe now it'll return back to my screen on the side. Yeah, okay, there we go. So we're back to our main menu. Alrighty. So I wonder what will happen if we try to do progressive straight away. Or even start up my other capture device. Might give me a clash. Ah, crazy. This isn't sharp either. Welp, I guess that's what happens when you don't have the option to test things out right. Some of the cool things though is having Tekken 5 on this is quite neat, because Tekken 5 actually has the first 3 games from the menu, so you can play Tekken 1, 2 and 3, the arcade versions. So this is a nice fighting game setup we had. Tekken Tag Tournament's another one that I made a 16.9 patch for. That one was a little bit different. I couldn't just apply a patch. I had to go and search for values using a hex editor, and then patch them like that. Street Fighter Anniversary Collection is amazing because it has Street Fighter Third Strike on, and Alpha Anthology is just as amazing because it literally has all the alphas on, even the ones that weren't released outside of Japan. They have variations of those ones. Soul Calibur 2 obviously still touted as the best Soul Calibur game of them all. And then I just play Ratchet and Clank for fun. Oddly enough, I tried to install Jack 3, and that didn't work. And then one of the other Ratchet and Clank games as well, for some other reason. I think it was Size Matters. Didn't work. I mean, there's obviously a patch and something. Charlotte Monks is an interesting one for me because, as you know, I use cheats and I play with different characters. Characters you're not normally supposed to play with. That's something I could also do on Deadly Alliance and I think Deception. So you can use cheats to unlock characters that you normally wouldn't allow to play with. And then I also did some music hacks for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and then, like I mentioned before, Capcom vs. SNK 2. So yeah, some of the stages, for instance, they don't have the music that you should know. And these games also work pretty well. So let's see what happens now. Well, I have to deactivate and reactivate again as the system cycles. Probably. Let me just do that. Again, this is because of the capture card that I'm using, something called a Roxio game capture. It captures using components. Let's try that again. There you are. Okay. No, it's fine.
All records are made to be broken.
Remember this game.
Capcom versus SNK. Check it out.
Delay on the screen that I'm looking at.
The Millionaire Fighting 2001. What an incredible cast of warriors has gathered here. However, only one team shall be crowned the champion of the Millionaire Fighting 2001. But the road to victory is not an easy one. The champion team will need more than luck to win this tournament. They will have to demonstrate a keen mind and steady nerves in order to defeat the competition. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Alright, the show is about to begin. Now, are you ready to get it on? The Millionaire Fighting 2001. What an incredible cast of warriors has gathered here. However, only one team shall be crowned the champion of the Millionaire Fighting 2001. But the road to victory is not an easy one. Next location is...
Normally this is the Tuna Bacon.
Ready?
Bacon theme tune.
Fight! You can feel the calm before the storm as the round
I do already. People have this stuff. There we go. In-game reset, pressing all the buttons. So even if something does go wrong and OPL doesn't boot from the booting of the console, you can actually still hold specific triggers to get to something like U-Launch Elf that will allow you to tinker with settings. So even if the game's hard drive does corrupt a specific file, it won't be the end of the world. I can always delete the config file for Open PlayStation Loader and then restart the entire thing and it'll rewrite its own file. So that's quite useful. I know this because it's happened a lot. Occasionally you'll play and for some other reason you'll get a situation where once you've tried to exit something, it'll just not save properly. And then every time you do that subsequently and you try and load a game or you try and save a setting, the OPL will just stall. So sometimes it's necessary to delete the config file and then redo things. But yeah, I'm very happy with the result. It looks great. And it's nice to know that if you have an old fat PlayStation 2 and a serial 80A hard drive, you can still buy the generic Ethernet adapters or hard drive adapters for the PlayStation 2 and then pop that serial 80A in, have no MC boot memory card and still manage to get the system running without the memory card. Now I will say this though, the process for doing that with just the hard drive is far more complicated and time consuming than actually having an MC boot card. So I mean, I have done it without using the MC boot card and just formatting the drive using an already what they call hard drive image of a HD boot that you actually dump onto the hard drive, and then the game will boot and you can use a memory stick that you plug into the PS2 to add and remove apps. That's the hard way. So you actually have to go and find the HD boot image, dump that to the drive using a PC, then pop it into the PlayStation 2 and you'll boot and you'll be able to access the memory stick. The method that I used here was much easier. again, because I already have a free MC boot card, making a system that doesn't use an AC boot, an MC boot is easy once you have the HD boot set up. So with the card like that, I can clone out multiple systems that don't require the memory card, which is kind of cool. And it's nice to have a spare PS2, especially if everything, when it's finished, looks as neat as this. It's quite cool. It's fun. And that's what I've been up to. Yeah, so, I mean, I just thought I'd mention it, drop some content. If you guys like what you see, let me know. If you want to comment, let me know. Other than that, have a great day, have a great evening. Cheers.